Hello friends. So in the last topic we were discussing about the decline of the caliphate in context of the rise of Islam, and in that context we were dealing about the issues in which many different caliphates came to existence, and also some civil wars which brought the Muslim empire on the verge of disintegration. But somehow, with the rise of the Umayyad dynasty, you can say the Islamic world once again retained its power, its position. But today, we will again discuss some issues which brought about some political and economic instability, or you can say a situation of conflict between the Christians and the Muslims, or the people of the Arab world. And this conflict, we will read it as the movement of crusade, the crusade movement. So during the 11 to, you can say, roughly 11 to 13th century AD, there was a situation of conflict and tension between the Christians and the Arab people of Arab. Because here we would like to underline the fact that the Muslims considered the Christians people who had their own religious book, like the Old Testament. And also the Christian people, the European Christian people, were given protection when they moved to the Arab region as pilgrims, or you can say traders, scholars. So they were given protection. But what happened was that when the Christian people, they started to convert the people of Spain, Hungary, and many different places into Christianity. Now the only enemy they could see in front of them were the Muslims. But it suddenly did not brought them to a conflict with them. Rather, it took some time. There were also some political and social, you can say, differences due to which this conflict arose. The way of, you can say, the way of the economic, the way to bring an economic prosperity by the Muslims was quite different from the view which was expressed by the Christians. So this crusade movement started in, you can say, 1099 AD. The first crusade movement started, in which the forces of the Christian forces under the Pope, they captured different places like like Syria and the regions of the Arab empire, Muslim empire. And in this, many of the Muslims were slaughtered and killed. This crusade, this was the first crusade, but not the last crusade. This continued, this tension continued again and again, and it resulted in more conflicts. Now during the first crusade, the Christians captured the place called Jerusalem, which was captured by the Arabs in 638 AD. So it was of great significance. It was a place of great significance for the Christians, because they thought that this is the place where Jesus was crucified and he was reborn. He took his rebirth. So this was of great significance. But in the second crusade, what happened was that the Islamic force once again defeated the Christian forces, and they again recaptured Jerusalem. And also, after the second crusade, the dominance of the Christian declined somewhat, and you can say they started to live a life of luxury and they moved away from this movement of crusade. But once again, a situation of third crusade arose. But now it was not, you can say, the Christians were not in a position to reclaim their power or to subdue the Islamics under them, Islamic people under them. So we can see that the crusade movement, you can say, it spanned for a long period of time, and it resulted into some political and economic instability in the regions of the Arab people and also the European Christian people. Now, after this, we will start the topic about the agriculture, the urbanization, the arts, different, you can say, religious movements under the Islamic people. What was their way of living, their culture. So we will try to throw some light upon the facts related to these aspects and also the economic aspect of the Muslim empire. Now when we talk about the economic aspect of the Islamic regions, the Islamic empire, the main source of revenue was the agriculture. Now the places which were annexed by the Arabs and which was the land which was under the control of their owners, a tax was imposed on that. It was known as kharaj. And the land which was owned by the Muslims and it was their hereditary, you can say it was their hereditary right over those land. So the Muslims had to pay a tax of about, you can say, it was known as ushr, and it was about 1/5 to 1/2 of the produce. Also, what happened was that the non-Muslims, to evade taxes, or you can say to escape the burden of taxes, they tried to convert into Islam religion. So the caliphates, they tried to discourage the conversion of the non-Muslims to Muslims because it rapidly decreased the source of revenue of the Islamic world. Also we see that during different caliphs, or you can say in the period of the Islamic empire, when it was on its height, to increase the revenue, there were also many developments in the field of irrigation. So irrigation was given a, you can say, very, it was on the focus of the caliphs. So different activities like building of canals, tube wells, irrigation facilities, you can say prototype windmills, to provide water to the different areas were constructed or were made. Now what happened is, gradually we will move on, that when agriculture was the main occupation, also side by side, or you can say agriculture and urbanization went hand in hand. So here we will like to say that there were many places, many urban cities which came to existence where different types of peoples lived. Now we'll try to see that how these peoples lived in this urban, you can say urban areas. Was there any special feature of these urban areas? So we will try to focus on that. With the growth of urbanism in the Islamic empire, we see the rise of many different towns of great, which became of great prominence. Also, the older towns gained some prominence like Samarkand, you can say Damascus. These were the towns which gained prominence. There were many different towns. And also, the Islamic culture shaped in these towns. Now, when we look at the, you can say, interesting feature of the Islamic towns, the main focus we can focus on the main thing is that at the center of the Islamic towns there were two types of building complexes, two main types of building complexes. One was the mosque, where the people came and worshipped in large numbers, and it was so large that it could be seen from a very far off place. And also, the second one was the area where different officers, rooms of the officers, lodges of the sarrafs, okay, traders, you can say quarters of the people of the army, marketplaces were located. And outside the center, small merchants, butchers, or you can say the common men. It was the residence place of the common men, the butchers, the small merchants. So you can see a division in the establishment of the towns, or you can see the distinguished, you can say there was a division in how the people lived in these urban centers. Also, what happened was, the urbanization was due to the facilitation of trade. The geographical position of the Islamic world also helped to flourish its trade. Trade from India in different things, different places, trade through the area of the Gulfs and the water bodies which connected many different parts of the world. So it helped to flourish there. It helped to flourish the trade facilities among the Muslims. And there were different things which were traded, like spices, you can say spices were traded, cotton was traded, many different things, horses. These were some of the things which were of prominence, which was in the center of the circulation of trade. Now we will move on to the next topics about how the Islamic learning and culture in context of art, writing, how it developed. We will look on those things. Now, when we focus on the Islamic learning, we see that there was a religious angle related to the knowledge base of the Islamic world, and also there were some other spiritual and you can say secular texts which were related to the Islamic learning, which helped to diversify the you can say base of the Islamic learning. Like the ulemas focused on the concept that Allah was the source of all knowledge. Also, there were many ulemas who thought about writing tafsirs and hadith, the commentaries on Quran and the deeds of Prophet Muhammad. With this, we also see that there were different people, different philosophers who wrote on different things, different knowledgeable people who wrote on different things, like medicinal works, like the travelogues. For example, it was the known as, you can say, the chronicles, which were known as Rehla. Okay. Under this, we have many different places which were famous for their books, which we find from those places. We have translated books in the Islamic learning, like the translated version of Panchtantra. Also, we have many mystical books, like those related to Alif Laila. So it was a complete diversified, you can say, source of knowledge in the Islamic learning. Now what we see is that in the context of art, what happened was Islam prohibited the, you can say, drawing or creation of figure of man and animals. So it paved the way for development of calligraphy and aberrasque. Also, what happened was, in the field of architecture, we see a complete diversification, and we find the origin of different architectural, you can say, techniques, like the arc, mehtab, minars, the domes. And as the Islamic empire spread to different parts of the world, we also see many different things coming into, you can say, coming into the original architectural style of the Muslims or the Islam. Like the Charbagh style, when the Muslims came to India, or when the Islam came to India, the Charbagh style. The running water passing through the, you can say, the paths. Use of white marble, use of red sandstone. So it also, the architecture also depended on the topography or the area where these architectural beauties were constructed. Now what is more important here is that we will have to think about Islam not only as a religion which came and went on for a long period of time. Rather, we have to see it as what were the social, economic, and you can say cultural aspect of the advent of Islam or the origin of Islam on the whole world. Like from Islam, we hear the traces of Sufism, who preached universal brotherhood, love, relation between a teacher, peer, and a, you can say, student, murid. We also see, like we can say that Islam also brought in many principles which were considered as evil practices. They abolished these evil practices, like they focused on not having intoxicating drinks, okay, charity, pilgrimage. Also what happened was that when trade flourished, it also helped to develop the economic structure of the Islamic world. And by increasing the trade relations with different areas, it also helped those areas to prosper and flourish. Many new types of coins came into existence. Letters of credit, hundis. These were some of the things which are continuing till date, and we see some traces of origin of these things in the Islamic world, in the origin of the Islamic world, in the making of the Islamic world. So you can't just have a narrow mindset about Islam in the context of a religion, but you have to keep a broad mindset about the changes which Islam made which were introduced by them and had a far-reaching effect on the whole world. It's very interesting that the Arab traders, when they sailed, the word of the you know that the word monsoon was given by them. So we will have to focus on those things. Rather, if you are studying history, you have to read it on the scientific touchstone, without biasness, a critical analysis. All these things are basics to history studying, the studying of history. Either you are a student or a historian, you have to keep a broad mindset to understand any of the concepts of history. You'll feel inclined towards something, you may feel inclined towards the other, but you have to think at the last that you are a student, you are a historian, so you have to keep a balanced approach so that you yourself can know more and more things which are true and which you will give to the coming generations. So with this, we will end the lecture about the Islamic world, and we'll meet in the next lecture with a very interesting concept which has a very important place in the world history, that is the Mongols and its, you can say, its prime ruler Genghis Khan. So it will be a very interesting next topic. Hope you all are doing well. Keep studying and enjoy your life. We'll meet in the next lecture. Thank you.
Thank you.
अथ श्री महाभारत कथा।